Welcome to Dialogues from the President's Corner. I'm your host, Rosemary Plybon, alongside Dr. Lawrence Czarda, of course, president of Greensboro College. And today we're talking with Pride Sports, about Pride Sports, I should say, with the one and only Jerry Fisk, our new director of athletics. Welcome to the President's Corner.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Okay, so what brought you to Greensboro College? Why Greensboro College?
Yeah, so I did my master's at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill and enjoyed our time as Tar Heels. And so I'd seen this opportunity and I took the interview because it was in North Carolina. But once I got down here, I chose to take the opportunity when it was thankfully extended to me because of the people. I really loved the feel of campus, loved the people that were in the department, outside of the department, how the future of athletics was looked at. And my wife had asked me to move south, and we'd moved south about 45 minutes in New York, but apparently that wasn't what she meant. So this move was 8.5 hours south. And yeah, glad to be in Greensboro, and especially at Greensboro College.
And so what before UNC Chapel Hill?
Gosh, that's quite a story. I owned my own small business doing banners, billboards, screen printing, embroidery. I was a financial advisor with two major firms, with JP Morgan Chase and with Smith Barney, for 7.5 years. And I was spending all of my time volunteering with athletics. I've refereed basketball at the high school and college level for 25 years. I was helping run events at my alma mater. I was helping run the New York State basketball tournament. And I was doing that while I was doing something else to make a living. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I had a very intentional conversation, and we just decided that it made sense for me to potentially do it as a vocation, not just an avocation, mm-hmm. and have fun with it. So I did my master's after my stint as a financial advisor. And then I've been an assistant conference commissioner, and assistant AD and associate AD. I was the director of athletics at SUNY Fredonia for 6.5 years before I came here. I'd spent some time raising money for the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and a few other things in there as well.
So you're living your dream as your second act.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It took me a while to figure things out, but thankfully I did it in my 30s, not my 40s or 50s, I guess. So.
And we're thankful you're doing it here.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been great. I started remotely in early June, and then my wife and I moved down at the end of July, and yeah, we'll close on our home here in the next few weeks. So yeah, things are moving forward, and happy to be here.
Dr. Czarda, what makes him a good fit?
Yeah, Rosemary, let me put it in context. I think that'll help any listener understand that intercollegiate athletics at Greensboro College first is NCAA Division III, and we are non-scholarship. And while we have had teams for quite some time, it's really the 1990s when we really developed the intercollegiate program. Kim Strabel was the AD who really built the athletic program here. He left the college in 2010, and for 10 years was over at the Greensboro Sports Commission. And we had a model where we would have a head coach also be the athletic director. And there were reasons for that. There were perfectly good reasons for that, financial and others at the time. But we've grown to the point where that no longer really made sense. So during the pandemic, Kim, while getting ready for retirement, was good enough to come back for 4 years, got us through the pandemic. But we were clear that we wanted a model where we had a full-time athletic director with the right kind of experience. Unusual for Greensboro College, we actually used an outside consultant to do a national search. And Jerry was a part of a very strong pool of finalists, but pretty quickly rose to the top. And part of it is what you just heard, his varied experience. But also he had the experience as a student athlete at a small private college. And so I'd like to think that it's also kind of built into him.
Yeah, I like that. Well, Jerry, what are some of your goals here?
I think what I'd like to see us move towards is just continue to be student-centric, make sure that the student-athlete experience is something that we talk about every day, make sure that we're doing what we can to serve them, and see that all of our teams are full, our teams are competitive. Last year we had a national champion in wrestling, and then we had 4 teams that finished runner-up in the conference. So we're competitive. What do we do to support them to get them over the top and win a conference championship and get an NCAA experience and things like that? I have 2 Post-its that are on my desk. One says, how do we differentiate ourselves today and what's best for the student athlete? And I think when we have those things in the center of how we do what we do, and we've got a lot of great people in the athletic department. One of the things that's really impressed me was how much each of them cared, how much they support one another and the student athletes. And that's the kind of department that I want to be a part of. So I think when we're starting there, we'll keep working because resourcing teams and improving facilities is always a part of everyone's plan. But in the meantime, we just have to make sure that our student athletes are valued and that they're having a great experience. I'm present at everything I can be. One of the things that I'd heard was that they wanted to know the AD and they wanted to see the AD in their experience. And I think there's a lot of positive feedback about that so far. And honestly, that's the fun part of the job. You know, the reports and some of the meetings aren't the highlight. The relationships with the student athletes is. So it's great. I think we can do great things. I think it's exciting where we are in the city of Greensboro, and we have some amenities that are available to us. We have some community partners that are big help. And as we keep working on those things and keep working to ensure that our rosters are full and competitive and doing some of those kind of things, I think the sky's the limit. We can really compete in the conference, and it's fun to see our student athletes already striving for some of those things.
Yeah. I feel like you're going to echo some of the things that he just said. When I'm going to ask you, Dr. Czarda, why are athletics important to the college, or what role do they play as far as in the higher education experience?
Okay, since you just called me out, I'll go in a different direction.
Okay.
I think the listeners might want to hear a couple of statistics. It may be surprising, but I tell them that it's not surprising in a college like Greensboro College. Our conference is 9 schools that are very much like us in Virginia and North Carolina. And more than half, about 60-some% of our entire undergraduate student body is involved with athletics, whether it's being a member of a team or a manager or athletic training or whatever it might band and so on. So it's a very important part of the component of what we are as an institution, and we're not different. But when I tell people that we have approximately the same number of student athletes as UNC Greensboro, they're surprised. But again, we're Division III. We're non-scholarship. In my career, which, I'm getting old, the way athletics has changed is mind-boggling. I mean, what Division I athletics is today is just hard to recognize as to what it was even when we were in college. And so I'd probably have to say that it is one of the driving forces in the character of the college community. Yes, we're here all about academics. Of course we are. But the student athlete comprises a majority of our student body.
Jerry, favorite part of the job so far?
That's the students. It's not close. It's great to see them succeed, to see them involved in our processes, hiring processes, working through improvements with SAC, to see what they value, what they want us to work on, to see how engaged they are in improving their own mental health and realizing that that's a focus we need as a campus as a whole and within the athletic department. So yeah, it's hands down the students.
Yeah. And, I'm going to kind of echo that a little bit and say, in the light of what's been going on in Western North Carolina and Tennessee, to see all the good that they are doing. And not just for that. I mean, before that, volunteering at schools and in the community and putting on clinics for special needs adults. It's been really, really uplifting to see the things that they're doing, the people that they are, not just the athletes that they are.
Sure. Yeah. And with 24 hours notice, the community and our student athletes rallied in such a way that we sent the Brevard volleyball team home with so much stuff that it didn't fit under their charter bus. They had to put some on the bus as well, which
in their laps.
Yeah, exactly. It's just astounding. And I think that's how we do things here. So it's they're great, and I can't praise them enough.
Yeah. Okay. 2 questions for both of you. First sporting experience or first sports experience for both of you.
First, I was raised in a family of all women, and I probably was wrestling with my sisters, probably.
Okay.
But as far as an event that I remember seeing, my father and brother-in-law took me to see Rutgers versus Princeton in football, which of course was the very first football game long, long time ago. That was the first intercollegiate. No, I didn't go to the first intercollegiate football game. That's not what I meant. I meant that was the rivalry.
Okay, got it. Thank you for the clarification.
That's funny. Yeah. First athletic thing. This will sound funny, but I grew up on a 150-acre farm in the middle of nowhere in Western New York. And the first contest I remember having is my brother and I would load railroad ties on a wagon and pull them behind our bikes to see who could get further up a hill.
Like a strongman contest.
Exactly. And just competing over anything like that. The first that I remember that were, I guess, sanctioned legitimate sports as opposed to just competitions with my brother were games at my high school. Once again, grew up in the middle of nowhere. I graduated high school with only 30 kids in my class.
Wow.
And so going to high school games was a town event. And there were a lot of special athletes for a really small town. So it was going to those high school events and much like my college experience, it sort of fed into the love of small athletics. Don't get me wrong, Tar Heel until I die, but it's fun to see the small groups that, that's the experience they're going to have. They may not get out of there and play for a UNC or a Texas, but we had a lot of fun in really, really small town high school sports.
Okay, you kind of said this a little bit, but what teams, of course, besides the Pride, are you cheering? Both of you cheering? I know the Tar Heels.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
Yeah, I get made fun of by my friends because I have a few. I grew up about 20 minutes from St. Bonaventure, so I always root for the Bonnies. If you grow up in Western New York, you've got Syracuse Orange because that's the major college team in Western New York. Then having been a Tar Heel, they're on the list. So I get made fun of for having way too many teams that I root for. For it in college sports, it's that. And then on the pro side, I'm a big Red Sox fan. I also am a Bills fan. Just spent my last 7 years of my life in Fredonia, which is where the Bills camp used to be before it went to St. John Fisher. And I think half the town are season ticket holders. So the whole town was more fun when the Bills won. So I started rooting harder for the Bills. And now I would call myself a fan.
Dr. Czarda?
College, I would say I have 3 alma maters. So Bridgewater College in Virginia and American University in Washington, D.C. and George Mason University in Virginia. But in terms of other college, I root for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons because my youngest son works in athletics at Wake Forest. He is a senior director of communications there. And so I have to root for Wake Forest. Professionally, even though I grew up outside New York City, I root for all the Washington teams because I lived in Washington for a very long time, 40 years. And so name a professional team in Washington, and I'm a big fan.
That's right, because it's fun when your hometown team wins when you're living in that town, for sure. Well, thank you. Thank you both today. And thank you for watching and joining and listening. And be sure to subscribe to Greensboro College Dialogues from the President's Corner wherever you watch or you listen. Learn more about all the good things happening at the college by following us on social media at Greensboro College and online at greensboro.edu.